So, in a stunning move by President Trump and Governor Ron DeSantis, they are opening up a new detention center in Florida called Alligator Alcatraz. And you know what Democrats are saying? It's racist and it's inhumane. So, what we're going to do in this video is give you the facts, show you what both sides are saying, and as always, give you the bottom line.
In the span of a week and 1 day, workers have transformed the Dade Collier Training and Transition Airport from an 11,000-foot runway into this temporary tent city that they've dubbed Alligator Alcatraz. Now, this location here in the Everglades is just under 50 miles west of Trump's resort in Miami. I want to give you a bird's eye view of what this looks like right now from our CNN affiliate WSVN. You can see these aerial pictures showing these repurposed FEMA trailers, these heavy duty tents that when completed are expected, according to Governor Ron DeSantis' administration, to hold over 5,000 detainees awaiting deportation. Now, the governor says that this is very much needed, this so-called Alligator Alcatraz, to deal with all of the influx of migrants from immigration crackdowns that are overburdening the jail systems. He also says that not much security is needed thanks to the pythons and gators that are surrounding this facility.
Okay, so this is something that happened earlier today, but I want to talk about it because once again, Democrats, they don't know how to react. In fact, they believe this is a assault on people's human rights. They believe this is going too far, but quite frankly, they're triggered by the name of this detention facility, which is really interesting if you think about it. Alligator Alcatraz. I mean, that definitely catches people's attention, but that doesn't mean that it's inhumane and that they're doing something wrong here. In fact, this is in a Republican state, so they are not going to hesitate to implement something like this because they don't play around when it comes to the rule of law, unlike states that are run by Democrats. Now, let's hear some people on the ground who agree and disagree. Take a look.
This is obviously sparking a lot of backlash from environmental groups, two of which have sued the Trump administration and also DeSantis. Also indigenous Americans who say that this threatens their sacred lands, and immigrant rights activists who are saying that this is dehumanizing, cruel, and inhumane, putting detainees here in the middle of the summer during hurricane season outside. Now, we have seen inside of the facility through footage, through a Fox interview that DeSantis did, and we did see, as DeSantis pointed out, portable water, sewage, power. He pointed to the AC units. He said that this is not inhumane. These people are going to need for nothing. He said that this is very much the same conditions where people displaced from hurricanes would be in temporary tents. Now, here's what a Trump supporter, who's a registered Democrat, told me right out here.
This is a great location for this. We have 1 million illegals in Florida. Many of them come in through Mexico, wind up especially here in Dade County because they're big populations they can hide in.
This is an absurd affront to the people, the nature, the community of South Florida. This is a environmentally destructive and spiritually poisonous prison camp that they want to construct on sacred land in sensitive habitat that cannot be allowed to stand.
Now, there's a key detail that we all need to know about this detention center. It is temporary, okay? So migrants that are sent here, they will not be staying there permanently, okay? It's like a transit, right? They're passing through because they're trying to get them processed so they could be deported. I mean, that's what's really going on here. Now, quite frankly, the argument that this is sacred land, I don't buy that whatsoever. This is the government's land of that state, so they have the authority to do what they're doing. Again, I'm going to keep screaming this until at the top of my lungs until people truly accept it. If you don't like the law, if you don't like what people are doing, you should be protesting the people who make the law. Isn't it fascinating? They're protesting people who are executing the law instead of protesting the people who are creating the law. I don't know. I think I've heard enough. And here's President Trump celebrating Border Patrol agents for the historic work they've done on the border while he was at a round table earlier in Florida. Take a look.
With the help of those incredible Border Patrol agents, we now have the lowest level of daily border crossings ever recorded. As you know, last month, the month of May, just got released 2 days ago, the number of illegal aliens into the United States was zero. Even I find that hard to believe. Somebody must have gotten in, I think. I don't know, but they say zero. And the people that count them are radical left Democrats. So when a radical left Democrat tells me it's zero, I believe him. But there's still much work to do. In the 4 years before I took office, Joe Biden allowed 21 million people, that's a minimum, I think it was much higher than that, illegal aliens to invade our country. He invaded our country just like a military would invade. It's tougher because they don't wear uniforms. You don't know who they are. More than the populations of New York City, Los Angeles, Chicago, Houston, Phoenix, and Philadelphia combined. That's what came into our country from prisons, from mental institutions, from street gangs, drug dealers. It's disgusting. This enormous country-destroying invasion has swamped communities nationwide with massive crime, crippling costs, and burdens far beyond what any nation could withstand.
Now, before we go any further, I want to share a personal story with you guys. I don't know about you, but I struggle with going to sleep. I mean, my mind is constantly racing. Even if I fall asleep, I wake up multiple times throughout the night. Now, luckily for me, this has come to an end after I tried a nighttime drink called Beam Dream. I'm talking about an all-natural nighttime drink that has seriously improved the way that I sleep. And trust me, I've tried a lot of sleep products over the years. This has made a huge difference. And maybe it's because of the ingredients like reishi mushrooms, melatonin, and magnesium all in one, all known for supporting deep and restful sleep. And the best part is this, it tastes good and it's easy to mix. All you need is the powder and warm water. The bottom line is this, I've seen a positive impact in my sleep, my relationship here at home with my family, including producing this show. So if you've been struggling with sleep like me, I highly recommend Dream. You can save 35% off your first month and 20% off of every month after that. Plus, you get a free frother that makes it easy for you to mix it. Just use my code Darkins at checkout or scan the QR code on the screen. Yeah, no matter how you feel about President Trump, even people in your family or people you work with, some of them might have Trump derangement syndrome. This is just an area that they really can't criticize the president on. In fact, he should get some credit. And we're just talking about border security, not deportations, not the immigration process, just border security alone. Now, here is a nice little update for people who've been following me for quite some time and not too sure if you guys noticed. That last clip you just saw is from our second YouTube channel that we recently launched called Darkins Breaking News. And I know I've received a couple of emails on that, but why don't we just make it official, keep you guys updated with what's going on. You should subscribe to that channel, follow it as soon as you can. I'll link it in the description below because this is the channel we're using to give you in the real-time live breaking news updates before we have a chance to analyze and react. So again, that is Darkins Breaking News. All you have to do is hit the link in the description below, follow it, and subscribe.
When President Trump came into office on January 20th, the United States had endured the largest wave of illegal immigration in human history. Not just American history, human history. And within just a few days, President Trump, through his strength, leadership, diplomacy, and vision, achieved the most secure border anyone in the world has ever seen. When we recently went overseas to the NATO summit, I had senior staff in foreign governments come up to me and ask me how he achieved the Trump miracle on his border and could that be replicated in their countries. For individuals who don't work in this space, to have 0 successful illegal entries in an entire month should be an impossible achievement. There's a 2,000-mile border with one of the poorest countries in the world, and you have open travel from 150 countries into Central America and South America. There are 2 billion people in the world that would economically benefit from illegally coming to the United States. And through the deployment of the military, through the deployment of novel legal and diplomatic tools, through the building of physical infrastructure, through the empowering of ICE and Border Patrol, and the entire federal law enforcement apparatus, President Trump achieved absolute border security.
So essentially, Stephen Miller is saying if you looked up the definition to border security, you'd see President Trump's face and, of course, the operations that has been executed over the past few months of his presidency. That also includes collaboration with the Department of Defense. I mean, he's set the standard high for anybody who's coming after him. And you can no longer use the excuse that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris use. She's not the border czar. We can't secure the border. We need something in Congress to be passed. No, ladies and gentlemen, the law already exists. It just needs to be enforced. That's really the bottom line here. Now, We already know people on the left don't like this because they have Trump derangement syndrome and they're going to criticize everything that he does. So why don't we at least react to it and see a collage of what people had to say? Take a listen.
Alligators rarely attack people. Pythons rarely attack people. That is extremely performative.
They definitely want to scare people.
It's wasteful and an incredible risk to our ecological resources.
These are our friends and our neighbors. These are people who are picking our crops.
Ron DeSantis is still governor of Florida. He took the Comfy Couch hosts on a tour of the concentration camp that he's building in Florida in order to round up people, brown people, and throw them in a camp because he doesn't want them in Florida.
Okay, so concentration camp are what some Democrats are calling this. And at that point, you don't need to listen to anything further because that's Trump derangement syndrome in a nutshell. And for the life of me, and I think this is probably the most frustrating thing about doing videos and talking about politics a lot every day, is just how divisive it is at times and how tribal it is at times and how it lacks logic. I mean, emotional maturity, you know. I get we have to disagree with each other, right? I get it. But to stretch what is being announced to the point where you're calling it a concentration camp, you have zero credibility at that point. Now, let me show you what Democrats should be saying. Here's Harold Ford Jr. on the 5 on Fox News saying what I would expect a Democrat to say if this was a perfect world. Take a listen.
But let me step back. I think that if this thing here works, I think it's great. I think there's a lot of theatrics here that I think may bother some, doesn't really bother me. But two, the border, the president has been outstanding on the border. The number of crossings has decreased so dramatically. It makes every American, particularly Democrats, to understand that there were things that the previous administration probably could have done, or not probably, certainly could have done to reduce those numbers. The hard part, Joey, has always been immigration. I served in Congress 25 years ago, and we were grappling with how do you provide paths to citizenship and who deserves a path to citizenship, who might be an undocumented worker. We're seeing now ask from industry, retail, agriculture, asking administration to have some leniency there. It's more complicated, more nuanced. Now, the hierarchy of deportations is where the president's having his challenge. I hope that whomever populates Alligator Alcatraz, which is a clever name, Greg's right, the president's good at this performative stuff, that we put more violent criminals there than we do law-abiding gardeners and law-abiding dishwashers and law-abiding retail workers.
Okay, what Harold Ford Jr. said is spot on, and it brings up the most important conversation we should be having. It starts at point number 1. There's a difference between border security and immigration. Border security is securing the border with Border Patrol agents and also at this point, Department of Defense military soldiers. And now immigration. Immigration is what? Pathway to citizenship. Some people believe it's not as good as it could be given the money and the resources we have in this country. Other people believe, which I kind of lean this way as well, the laws already exist, is that people don't follow them. Why are you in this country for 20 years and you don't have your papers? Can someone please answer that question? I'm still waiting to know. Now, I'm not naive either. I think people don't get them out of fear because they believe, hey, if I try to rectify the situation, I'm getting deported immediately. But it goes back to the main issue. You should not enter this country illegally. And if you entered the country legally and you have your papers and then they expire, that is your responsibility to fix. Or you need to work with your congressional leaders to change the law or come up with a temporary policy to fill the gap that will happen if all of these people in the restaurant, hospitality, or agriculture sector, they get deported overnight. Okay? I'm just saying, if we're going to complain all day, can we at least offer up some solutions? Now, here's what Stephen Miller had to say in response to the critics of Alligator Alcatraz. Take a listen.
Disgusting. What's happening in the Everglades isn't immigration enforcement. It's absolute political theater. What you are doing is dehumanizing. It's cruel. That is not enforcement. That's bullying.
Not enforcement. It's bullying. It's disgusting, and it's dehumanizing. Stephen.
Well, first of all, another answer to your question of why it's needed is there have been repeated multiple attempts by violent criminal aliens and cartel thugs to escape ICE detention, individuals who present a clear and present danger to public safety. Under President Trump's leadership, we are targeting 8 foreign terrorist organizations, including 6 Mexican drug cartels that threaten the foreign policy, the public safety, the national security of the United States. These are dangerous, ruthless organizations. A facility like this ensures the security of the officers who work there and ensures the security of the public, lest there be an attempted jailbreak. And again, we are dealing with the worst of the worst, the most heinous of the most heinous. And like you said, they still receive a quality of care that is superior to the quality of care provided with American jails for American citizens in many cases. And here's another very important point. What's dehumanizing is when American citizens are stripped of their rights and their liberties by the invasion of illegal aliens.
Yeah, so Stephen Miller definitely represents conservatives across the board on the way that we see border security and particularly getting criminal illegal aliens out of this country, especially off the heels of President Biden, who clearly was incompetent, didn't know who he was, where he was, what he was doing, but he did make a conscious decision to leave that border open. So don't be mad that the Trump administration is this aggressive. But I will make this point as well. The problem for the Trump administration is that sanctuary city policies still exist. And the Supreme Court has already ruled that they are lawful policies. So there's not much that they can do. So Democrats, unfortunately, they're going to get upset because they're going to see people who they believe not to be criminals getting deported in these sanctuary cities. And it could be avoided if they just worked with ICE, DHS, and federal authorities, which they refuse to do. All right. And so now we're at a point where people are arguing about how much it's going to cost, which is $450 million a year, and also about the criminal offenses that some of these migrants will have. And is it truly worth it to put them in this detention center? Now, before I show you what Tom Homan had to say about that, where else would we put them?
The October to May numbers. You say, look, we're targeting the guys and the women, I guess, also, who are a threat to society. It's 3 out of 4 are traffic, immigration, or other low-level offenses. Only 1 out of the 4 are serious felons in terms of like murder, rape, high-value crimes. Is that the right ratio?
No, I don't think it is at all. I mean, the vast majority of people arresting have criminal conviction, public safety threats. But, and people look at, for instance, we arrest some people in county jails in non-sanctuary states, and they have a pending criminal case. So we found them in the county jail, which most likely means they're not a choir boy. So they're pending criminal charges. The left don't want to count that. They're saying, well, they're not criminals, they're not convicted yet. Yeah, however, they've been arrested for criminal charges sitting in the county jail. We're not going to sit and wait for conviction because a lot of prosecutors will say, look, if you're going to deport them, we just drop the case and deport them and save the taxpayer a lot of money. However, if the prosecutor wants to prosecute them, we work with the prosecutor, do a writ, saying we'll put them back in your custody for prosecution if you guarantee after you're done you release them to us. So we're working that way. So we're doing the best we can for local prosecutors and having the first shot at it. But if they don't want that shot, then we're going to remove them.
And there it is. I mean, listen, the fact of the matter is President Trump has a plan and he's executing that plan. Democrats have no plan. The detractors have no plan. The people who think they know better have no plan. They just have opinions and complaints all day long. Now, here's what the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, had to say about this as he talks in more detail about this detention facility. Take a listen.
All right, tell us about Alligator Alcatraz.
Well, it's the most secure illegal alien detainee processing and deportation center in the country. We've been working with President Trump's administration on illegal immigration from the time he got sworn in. We proposed to do this, but they approved it and said, okay, guys, get going, do this at this airport in the middle of the Florida Everglades. And we did it in about a week. Got a state-of-the-art facility built, can hold thousands of detainees. President Trump said he's going to approve us using our National Guard judge advocates to serve as immigration judges. So literally, you'll have an illegal, you'll be able to have them have whatever due process right there at Alligator Alcatraz, and then guess what? 1,000 feet away, there's a massive runway where DHS can then fly them back to their home country. So I think we're also going to do another one in northeastern Florida at our National Guard training center in Camp Blanding. But Sean, the thing is the president was very thankful. Secretary Noem was very thankful, and we're happy to do it. But all the red states, at a minimum, need to step up and do this.
And now I want to hear from you guys. What is your reaction to Alligator Alcatraz? I mean, what a name, right? I mean, it really grabs your attention. Hats off to President Trump, because he's like the ultimate salesman or marketer, call it whatever you want. He just has a way of naming things. So give me your reaction on that. But also the meltdown, the backlash, the criticism that this is inhumane, this is racist, this is unconstitutional, the whole nine, right? And then what is your reaction to my point that I continue to make throughout my videos? If we don't like what President Trump is doing as far as deportations, immigration, or border security, why don't we just go to our congressional leaders and demand them to change the law? Isn't that a legitimate point? But I suppose when you don't have any emotional intelligence because you have Trump derangement syndrome, you're not willing to hear all that. But give me your reaction in the comment section below anyway, and your overall thoughts. Now, earlier today, we also had breaking news with the one big, beautiful bill. It did pass the Senate. It's in the House currently right now, and it's already facing resistance. But good news, I'm going to walk you through exactly what's in this bill. I'm going to show you the text, give you what both sides are saying. That way you can make up your own mind of what you believe to be true. So if you're interested in that video, all you have to do is click on it because it's coming up right now.